To understand why Jungkook's award sweep is transformative, it is essential to compare his achievements with those of America's top charting artists. The US pop industry is crowded with established figures such as Taylor Swift, Drake, The Weeknd, Olivia Rodrigo, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, and Justin Bieber. Each has dominated Billboard charts, streaming platforms, and award stages. Yet Jungkook's trajectory demonstrates significant overlaps and, in some cases, outperformance. For example, Taylor Swift remains the benchmark for award dominance, yet Jungkook's debut single 7 outperformed some of her singles in global streaming within its release window. Drake, known for breaking Billboard records, faced competition as Jungkook's debut solo track matched his digital sales performance during the same week. Olivia Rodrigo emerged as the face of Gen Z pop, but Jungkook's ability to dominate both younger audiences on TikTok and older demographics through radio positioned him uniquely. Justin Bieber once held the title of Global Teen Idol, transitioning into adult pop star. Jungkook's transition mirrors this trajectory, but with faster global reach and a stronger Asian market foundation, giving him leverage Bieber did not initially have. This comparative lens illustrates that Jungkook is not only part of the conversation, he is directly competing with the US elite in measurable terms. The US media plays a central role in legitimizing award winners. Publications like Billboard, Rolling Stone, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, and Pitchfork have all highlighted Jungkook's role as a breakthrough soloist. These outlets are typically selective in their recognition of non-American acts, often relegating them to niche coverage. In Jungkook's case, however, the coverage was mainstream and competitive. Billboard's multiple front-page features on Jungkook positioned him not as a Korean artist succeeding abroad, but as a global pop star reshaping US charts. Rolling Stone's reviews analyzed his music with the same critical standards applied to top-tier American artists. This level of recognition amplifies the legitimacy of his award wins. Awards are not just about fan votes or chart placements. They are also influenced by industry sentiment. The responses of US producers, collaborators, and executives reveal how Jungkook's success is interpreted within the professional sphere. Collaboration with Latto on 7 was a strategic alignment with US rap culture, showing openness from American acts to be associated with him. DJ Snake, Charlie Puth, and Jack Harlow have all shown interest in collaborating, indicating Jungkook's desirability as a feature artist. US label executives have publicly recognized Jungkook as a priority artist for global strategy, particularly in the Atlantic Records and Columbia Records spheres. These professional acknowledgements go beyond fan enthusiasm. They confirm that Jungkook's presence has commercial weight recognized by the American industry itself. One of the significant outcomes of Jungkook's award sweep is the dissolution of genre boundaries. Historically, non-American artists were placed into restrictive categories such as world music or international artist. While these categories acknowledged their presence, they also reinforced separations from mainstream pop. Jungkook's wins challenge this dynamic. At the VMAs, BBMAs, and AMAs, he was nominated and awarded in categories alongside American pop acts rather than being isolated. For instance, winning Song of the Summer at the VMAs placed him directly above competitors like Doja Cat, Nicki Minaj, and Olivia Rodrigo. This demonstrates that US institutions now see him as part of the core pop conversation rather than a peripheral act. While industry recognition matters, fan-driven awards such as the People's Choice Awards and iHeartRadio Music Awards also contribute to shaping hierarchy. Jungkook's fanbase mobilized globally, showcasing voting power that rivaled and often surpassed that of US stars. Unlike typical international fanbases, Jungkook's supporters have strong penetration into the US market, with voting spikes coming from multiple American states during award seasons. This demonstrates that his dominance is not only external, but also internal to the American market, reinforcing the validity of his wins. Winning awards is one step. Being visibly acknowledged at ceremonies is another. Jungkook's attendance at US award shows often drew disproportionate media coverage compared to American attendees. Red carpet events, interviews, and live performances elevated his profile further. For instance, his live performance of Standing Next to You at the 2023 Billboard Music Awards became one of the most discussed moments of the event, generating millions of views online within hours. This kind of visibility not only consolidates his reputation, but also forces American institutions to place him on par with their domestic stars. Jungkook's award sweep is not accidental. It is part of a broader strategic plan. The US remains the largest music market in the world, and winning awards there establishes global credibility. By aligning with American industry standards while maintaining his distinct identity, Jungkook ensures his longevity beyond trends. His ability to balance Korean origins with American recognition sets a precedent for future international artists seeking legitimacy in the US music market. Awards are not merely symbolic. They are structural endorsements that position him as a permanent fixture in the global hierarchy. For much of modern music history, US pop stars rarely commented on the success of non-American acts. Even when artists from Latin America, Europe, or Asia gained traction in the American market, most US stars avoided direct acknowledgement. This silence functioned as an unspoken rule. American artists maintained cultural dominance while allowing outsiders to enjoy momentary visibility without challenging the hierarchy. When BTS achieved global recognition, US stars often remained neutral. Their silence was strategic, acknowledging BTS risked legitimizing them as equals in the US pop ecosystem. However, Jungkook's solo dominance disrupted this dynamic. Unlike group success, his individual recognition meant he was directly competing with American soloists on their own terms. This forced US stars to reassess whether silence was still viable. The first cracks in this silence appeared through collaborations. American artists recognized that aligning with Jungkook was not only commercially advantageous, but also necessary to maintain relevance in a shifting industry. Lato's feature on Seven was more than just a collaboration. It was a public acknowledgement that Jungkook was a peer within the mainstream pop rap market. Charlie Puth's partnership in Left and Right earlier showcased how even mid-tier US pop acts saw Jungkook as a way to boost chart performance. Rumors of potential collaborations with Justin Bieber, SZA, and The Weeknd reflect growing acceptance. Every collaboration represents a public recognition of Jungkook's legitimacy. Silence becomes untenable when financial incentives and audience demand encourage partnership. In the digital age, silence is often measured through social media activity. Retweets, likes, and comments serve as forms of acknowledgement. Jungkook's dominance on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter X meant his name consistently trended in the United States. American artists who once ignored non-US competitors now find themselves indirectly engaging. Some reposted his performances or congratulated him on award wins. Others referenced him in interviews when discussing global competition. His TikTok challenges were picked up by US influencers and artists, creating viral loops that American stars couldn't avoid. The shift illustrates how silence became counterproductive. By ignoring Jungkook, American stars risked alienating fans who demanded acknowledgement. The Billboard Hot 100 functions as the ultimate measure of American chart dominance. Jungkook's ability to secure one placements disrupted the historical trend where US artists exclusively dominated. When Seven debuted at one, it was not simply a fan-driven victory, it was a reshaping of competitive dynamics. US artists who were used to commanding chart debuts suddenly faced the reality of an international soloist outperforming them in sales, streams and radio play. This competitive environment made silence implausible. To ignore Jungkook's achievements was to ignore the very metrics that defined their own careers. Hence, indirect recognition through interviews, strategic collaborations, and even subtle references began to emerge. American pop stars historically enjoyed dominance in award categories, but Jungkook's wins created unavoidable intersections. When he won categories like Song of the Summer or Best K-pop at the VMAs, his competitors were American stars who could no longer dismiss him as outside their field. The optics of losing to Jungkook made silence less feasible. Public perception demanded responses, whether congratulatory, competitive, or strategic. Several artists began acknowledging him in press interviews, a move that both preserved their public image and subtly positioned themselves in relation to him. Behind every public acknowledgement lies economic reasoning. American stars depend on international markets to sustain their careers. Asia, Latin America, and Europe are crucial revenue sources. Jungkook's dominance in these regions makes him an unavoidable figure for US artists seeking global reach. Silence risks alienating fans in those markets, many of whom see Jungkook as a cultural ambassador. Acknowledging him, on the other hand, offers goodwill and access to his massive fan base. This economic calculus has made US stars more open in referencing him, whether through collaborations, interviews, or online posts. The Grammys, often viewed as the pinnacle of US award recognition, play a central role in shaping industry narratives. Jungkook's growing influence increases the likelihood of nominations and potential wins in categories traditionally reserved for American acts. For US stars, silence around Jungkook risks diminishing their own Grammy campaigns. By acknowledging him, they align themselves with the momentum he brings, potentially securing collaborative opportunities or broader appeal in Grammy voting circles. Acknowledging Jungkook also aligns with broader cultural shifts in the American industry. US audiences are increasingly diverse, with Asian American communities demanding representation. By engaging with Jungkook, American stars present themselves as culturally inclusive and globally aware. This is particularly relevant in press interviews and award show speeches, where artists carefully manage their public image. Silence, once interpreted as indifference, now risks being read as resistance to globalization, a stance that can harm reputations in today's interconnected world. The combination of award wins, chart dominance, social media virality, and cultural influence has effectively ended the strategy of ignoring international acts. Jungkook stands as a central figure in this shift. US pop stars, once silent, are now compelled to engage, whether through collaborations, online acknowledgement, or public statements. In doing so, they implicitly recognize that the US is no longer the uncontested center of global pop. Instead, the hierarchy is being renegotiated, with Jungkook playing a defining role.